attacked by a pack of dogs. But she said it's okay.
Alright. Here today we have Simon. He's a world traveller. He's run some charities. He's been a business owner, a fighter. Now he's a coach. He has a wealth of knowledge about a whole bunch of subjects. But yeah, welcome Simon.
Hello.
So tell us where your journey began, man. Tell us about your upbringing, where you grew up and stuff.
My upbringing. So I'm a mixed race. Dad's from Jamaica, mum's English. We come from like a place in London called East London, so it's where the Cockneys come from. So you hear like, yeah, you right, mate? How you doing? What? Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What are they called?
Cockneys.
Cockneys.
So we actually got Cockney language. So the poor people in England, so one of the most poorest places in England was East London, like early 1900s, really, really poor. Out of 5-6 women, half of them were prostitutes, and like all the way down to 12, even sometimes younger, even younger boys is prostitutes. You can see some old pictures where you see these kids where they've got nothing on their feet, and I'm like, whoa, in East London, I wonder what winter would have been like. You got the tea leaf, means thief. So we have our own language, and it's called Cockney language. And the way that developed, from what I know, is that you had the middle class and upper class people. So when we was hustling out on the streets, selling in the markets, we have our own lingua, so they couldn't understand what we were saying.
Yeah.
So that most of you watching this mostly heard like apples and pears means stairs, so it rhymes. Apples and pears, stairs. Dog and bone means phone. Iron bank means bank. So like we literally, you Google it, put rhyming dictionary, Cockney slang rhyming dictionary. We've got like a dictionary.
Sure.
Words, and even today you get new words upgraded.
Do you remember most of it?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you go back to East London now. It's very out. Now, it's like, I'll say my mum's generation was the last of the proper Cockneys. After my generation, that we still have a lot of it. I didn't realise that so much of my slang still has it. If I go around to certain friends, I've got a friend called Liam, he's like my brother. When I go around there, that's a proper old school Cockney home. It's like what my family home used to be like. We go around to my nan's. Every weekend we used to go around to my nan's, my uncles and my aunts. And my dad used to tell me stories that when he first met my mum and he went round there, he said that he didn't have a fucking clue what he was talking about.
Do you still say that shit to people now? And they're like, what the fuck?
Oh, when I'm travelling, I didn't realize how good my English was. No, but so many people would look at me and think, no, somebody saying, where are you from? I'm like, England. They're like, wow, your English is different. I'm like, yeah, from East London. So like the normal little thing would be like, we don't pronounce certain T's, so we say bottle. You hear me in the gym like, right, anyone's got a bottle of water? Yeah. You're like, oh, what? You say better. What's the matter? You right, mate? So it's like we used to have lots of words where, like I say, it's a language, so they don't understand. Like I say, dog and bone means phone, so it's like and all the words kind of rhyme. So.
What was the reasoning behind that? Just like the police.
So so we was the poorest place, and we was trying to make money, hustling, and let's say I was selling stuff, and talking to someone, one of my friends, like, I don't want this person to know what I'm saying. I don't want anyone else around me to know what I'm saying, because these are middle class, upper class people. So we're trying to sell them, we're trying to bring them off in the money. So some of the markets are, they'll be selling, they'll get a bird and they'll paint the bird so it kind of make it look an expensive bird. They're selling anything.
A real bird.
Yeah. So I've got some old pictures of my great great granddad and nan. Great great granddad and nan. We're actually on Brick Lane, and it's like we've got these old shop. So you got what do you call these shops? Second-hand shops kind of thing.
Odd shops.
Odd shops. So that was a big thing back then. So it's like because someone's rubbish is another man's treasure. So my mum's still like this. I've got it. Like if I pass the dustbins, I see stuff thrown out. That looks right. And it picks it up, and it's funny because I'm still like that today. I see something like,
They obviously have don't show a thing called hard road, which people leave all their shit out on the street at a certain time of the year, and then the council
Yeah,
will
so
pick it up.
yeah, the old companies would have had a day for that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, like I was saying, my great grandparents got a picture of them where they have shots at the side. They got buggies, old this, old that, second-hand stuff. And then they had another picture where you can see the shop kind of got repainted and things have a little bit changed, but it was really, really cool. This picture is really old, you know.
Yeah.
And Brick Lane is like a famous destination. You know, it's like, I'm from East London where Jack the Ripper come from.
Yeah.
You know, that's a massive story, Jack the Ripper. He was the biggest serial killer at one time. You had Elephant Man, you had the Craig brothers, it was like massive gangster twins.
Yeah, you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Awesome movie, yeah.
So, you know, where I come from, I used to go to a boxing gym called Repton. It's the oldest boxing gym. It was first created in 1884, and it was based in East London for the poor kids, because they had nothing there. And then you had the Craig brothers, that's why it's one of the most famous gyms as well, because the Craig brothers used to go there.
Oh, yeah.
And you still got the pictures of the Craig brothers when they was training in there. Yeah, Tony Burns, who was my trainer, he was really good friends with them. And when he was in prison, he used to go down there and see them all the time. When both of them died, a lot of stuff got given to Tony Burns, and he had like a big lockup with all that old stuff like. And sometimes you see certain things might get sold in that. Like East London, we've got so much history.
Yeah.
And
How long were you there? When was all this shit happening going down?
for me,
Yeah.
I was born there. I live in what we call Bow Bells. So Bow Bells are like proper East London. If you can hear the bells where you live, that was called Bow Bells.
Yeah.
And I was like, all my family was there. I remember the majority being all white at that time. And then we had a lot of Asian, Indian people started moving in. And then in the 90s, a lot of them white people started to move out. And the poor areas started to get more money put in because it's close to the city, the main city.
Yeah.
So they started pushing out the poor people and started moving the rich people. But yeah, for most of the crime and all that stuff, East London was very wonderful.
Yeah. So obviously you got pushed down to start doing some crime and stuff. Like, was that just obviously a normal thing for everyone back then?
I mean, I didn't really get into crime like in that way. There was stuff going on, and when you're born in the area, that's what you're used to.
Yeah, you think it's normal.
You think it's quite normal. But it's just like, when there is crime, people are just doing hustling, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really that hustling, I'll say.
Yeah, but what age was this for you?
When I started hustling?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is when you were a young teenager?
Yeah, I would have been about 14 that I really got into doing street hustles and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then what was the sort of pivotal point where that sort of finished and started, or did something happen? Or?
I don't know. So I didn't stop until I was, I think, how old am I? Nearly 30 years old. So I've done a lot of legit business. I was always interested in legit businesses, but I always had my one foot into the street stuff still.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until one of my close friends got arrested and got banged up for 5 years, doing a big bird. Made me think about, that easily could have been me.
Yeah.
I was going out with a girl at that time, and amazing woman, and I didn't want to be in his position. Like, you hear the story, I've got so many friends go to prison, and it's like, they've got girlfriends. It's like, they end up talking to the girlfriends on the phone, and they start having arguments, because she might have went out on the weekend, so he's like, oh, where did you go? And she'd be like, I went out with my friends. Like, oh, where did you go? Oh, I went to the nightclub. Oh, did you meet anyone? So start getting all this paranoid stuff, and then the other prisoners were such like, someone's fucking your missus tonight. She's giving someone a little blowjob or something, So start winding people up and stuff like that. And it's just a mind thing. So for me, if I was in that position, I would not be in a relationship. But then at the same time, I thought, I would want to lose this girl because she was an amazing woman. So her and my mom was always saying to me that, Sam, you could do anything you want. Why you still do this stuff? And it's because it's second nature. It's the only thing I do. I was actually talking about this the other day with someone. When I was brought up in my area, your mum and dad were grafters. Your uncles and aunties all grafters, all just graft. So yeah, work is doing all the jobs. And then you have all my friends' parents, all grafters. So we didn't know nothing different, and no one wasn't making money. And I wanted to make money, and the only people I knew was making money was footballers, singers, rappers, and drug dealers. Yeah, I wasn't a singer. I wasn't good at football, so it was easy for me to get pushed down that other road, and a lot of people was doing it. It was an easy side hustle.
Yeah.
So I got pushed down that way, and the libraries them days wasn't no educational book where it's going to push you towards that way. It's cheap books. There was no internet. There wasn't no entrepreneurs to show me that way. Like the only people I knew was making money were people selling dogs. Yeah. I didn't really know anyone else just making money in my area. So that was the way to go.
It was pretty similar from where I grew up as well. I didn't really see anybody doing anything successful. Everyone that I was surrounded by was pretty poor, or just living the really average life, and it does come across easy, but
do you know what?
Because it is.
No, because Australia, was built of fucking criminals, sent over from England. You know where most of the criminals come from? East London. I always think to myself, because I always hear the Australians saying, "You right, mate?" And that's a proper Cockney slang. We say, I think, "Yeah, right, mate." I think, wonder if, but Australia was, as you know, was built up with criminals, and a lot of the criminals did come from East London.
Yeah.
So I always think to myself, I said, so yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be much different.
Yeah. Have you got any memorable stories from times? Or things that stood out?
There's one. So we must go getting into later, but when someone says that, what's your oldest fault? Some stuff that I've done in my life, what do you think made you go that way? When I think back, we're not a religious family, but my dad was always believe in God kind of thing. And I remember one time I was walking down Burnett Road in Bow. My dad said to me, if you had one wish, what would you wish for? Me being a kid, I was I wish for all the money in the world. I think I even clapped down him, kind of wrong answer. So I was like, what do you wish for? And he said, I wish for world peace. And I didn't know what it was. And I was like, why is that? Because if there was world peace, you wouldn't need all the money in the world. Everything would be nice to set that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that stuck to me, because that's my oldest memory. And, obviously the way my parents are as well, my mom was always been a helping person. Maybe that kind of strove me that way. I had that in my head of world peace, nice world, and maybe that's how it got me to where I am today. That's one of my oldest memories. And then obviously watching Kung Fu movies, my dad loves these films, and watching Rocky Balboa and that. I had my older brother. So that when the music comes up, you start fighting.
Yeah. When did you get into, or when did you start training and getting into fighting and stuff?
So I got into doing martial arts when I was about 4 or 5.
Really young.
So we moved at our first place, and we was quite lucky because we come from, like I said, we come from a poor family, and we got moved. My granddad was a timekeeper for an athletic club, and in this athletic club, they had a cottage attached to it. So my dad became the caretaker, and my dad became the caretaker of the club. So then that's how I really got into my sports as well. But they used to do once a week taekwondo.
Yeah.
So I was doing taekwondo around about 4 or 5, and then I started doing karate as well. So I was an all-rounder of sports. I think as well, I was dyslexic. I couldn't speak. First, I couldn't speak properly. I had speech problems. I had to go to a special school. Then couldn't read and write. So I kind of got pushed more towards activities like sports and stuff like that.
Did you think that you was clicking that straight away?
Yeah, it's from the stories I hear about from my aunties and uncles, they say you was fucking mad. It's you fucking climbing something, chatting, rolling, craziness. Your mum and dad would be like, Simon. So I was always active.
Yeah.
That's where all my energy went.
yeah, where did that lead to? Like, when did you start like really taking in the fighting? What was your MMA
I think
choice?
like this in general, like sports, I was so active and I was very competitive. Like I wanted. So when I was young, I can remember a lot of people say I was dumb and thick because back then dyslexia, they didn't know how to deal with dyslexia. So once you got dyslexia, you're just like, you're dumb and thick. That's it for that. And now they know how to work around it. So I had a lot of people used to say to me, like, you're dumb, you're thick, you won't get anywhere. So I was kind of thoroughly bullied. So I had this energy that I wanted to be better than everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's like with sports, that was my go-to place.
That's what you
And I was beating everybody on sports. And then, I was an amazing runner. I could do 100 meters sprint in 11 seconds flat when I was like 14. Swimming, I was a magnificent swimmer from that very, very young. And then fighting, I was an amazing fighter, but I became world champion in that when I was 18. So I started doing that back then, it wasn't like how it is today. You've got MMA gyms and all that. You used to go to like an old church, an old community centre.
Yeah.
You do little karate or taekwondo.
Is this what was that in taekwondo or?
Yeah, taekwondo first. So that the place where we live in, the athletic club had a hall. So they used to do the taekwondo in there. And then there was a place around the corner where we used to do karate. But then in them days, it was like very traditional martial arts.
Yeah.
I can't remember really us doing any sparring. There wasn't no punch bags, so you're always hitting thin air.
So what's the deal with taekwondo like? Is that based on like points or?
Taekwondo is like more just kicks. It's 85% or 8% kicking, and it's more point scoring, being quick on your feet. It's not great power, but then again, it's like if someone catches you with a quick kick and you don't see it, you don't have to be that powerful, you can actually knock you out.
Yeah.
Because it comes from the feet down, you're always looking up here. So when the foot comes up, you only see it at the last minute. There's pros and cons to every fighting art, there's pros and cons. So that was on that side. Karate, so if we go back to the taekwondo, it's like the great on the feet, but then you're in a crowded nightclub. Like, you ain't gonna be kicking easy.
Nah.
If someone takes you to the floor, kicking on the floor. Karate, very traditional old kung fu and old Japanese art, shall I say. It's like, when they throw a punch and they hit you with that, it's gonna hurt. But again, you can't see it coming. It's very stable, grounded.
Yeah. So did you say you become a world champion at one of those?
So I've done semi-contact fighting and continuous fighting. So you got point scoring, then you got continuous where it's non-stop fighting. I've done the world championships in the continuous fighting.
What do you mean continuous, like it's non-stop?
So non-stop, so it's like kickboxing, boxing, it's like 3-minute rounds. But then like the other one, semi-contact, it's like stop, 1 point, stop, 1 point.
Okay.
So a lot of people might kick that, but to me, it's like, I think, you want certain skill sets, and having that skill set to your fighting change up the game so much because it's about hit, don't be hit. Yeah. When I say point score, it's not like karate. We usually like what we call freestyle. So Michael Page is that everyone knows him as my little brother. He's one of the top world fighters. People usually be like, that point scoring.
Is he still competing?
Yeah, he's still competing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, that point scoring ain't no good, and he's just proved to the world like how good it is. But again, it's great. If you can add other stuff to it, it makes it even better. So I went to Muay Thai for my first time later on in my age, and I was catching everyone because the whole of hitting, they'll be hitting, judgment, playing around with distancing, cat and mouse. When I went into boxing, I went in there and I caned everyone in my weight category so quickly. And I wasn't really boxing, I was fighting. There's that whole thing of like judgment and distancing and making them miss and catching them and blocking and countering, and it worked. But then once I started learning the art of boxing a little bit more, it made it even better. Better.
That's just what you said. What do you think? What's one of the biggest things that combat sports has taught you? You reckon this from growing up? Obviously, it's a pretty epic thing to only have, like just having that and living through the streets and shit like that. It was good to have that in your back pocket.
Yeah. So I had an older brother, and he was actually murdered through not through gang stuff, because one place at the wrong time. And I was 16 at the age at that time, and I could have went so wrong from there. And my mum and dad, they cherished my training at the time, Curtis Page, that's Michael Page's dad.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't because of him. I was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out on the street and fighting. And me doing the fighting back then, if I didn't have that, I would have went fully into the street stuff. Had anger built up in me, resentment, my outlook on life. I was thinking, how can it be a God and this and that? And I had so much stuff going through my head, how the system worked, or some question everything. It didn't make sense because me and my parents had always done the right thing. Always, my mum was like the most goodest, nicest woman to ever meet. She always helping everybody. Same thing as my brother, same thing with me. We're always trying to help people. So it just didn't make sense. I was like, if you do good, you're supposed to get good back. How is this working? We've done so much good and this is happening. So I think with the fighting, it kept me there. I think with my brother as well, is that I wanted to do it for him as well.
Yeah.
So, but I still was 1 foot in, 1 foot out at the time. And like I said, I could have ended up in prison, could have ended up dead, I ended up doing something really stupid myself. So it kind of kept me occupied.
Yeah.
And then later on, after winning the World Championships at 18, I got to 2021, there was no UFC at the time. There wasn't no cage fighting. Money wasn't really in martial arts. And I wanted to make money that. And I thought, you know what, this is a dead end road at the time. So then I went more back into doing street stuff.
Fortunately, that's just bad timing on your part. Imagine if you were growing up now.
Oh, man. It's like, people who know me and know that, we might go to certain places and you got Michael Page there, and some people like Michael Page, and some people who've been around us and know our history, they'll be like, you don't know Simon Lewis, do you? He said, this is where Michael really learned a lot from. Simon Lewis was the boy. And he's like, I always think to myself, when there was social media then, I was a flashy little cunt.
So what was the difference between you and him? He obviously went on a different path that you went.
So he was much more younger than me.
Yeah.
When I was fighting,
what company is he fighting in?
Well, now?
Yeah.
He fights at shoot fighters now. But he's originally come from his dad. He come from the London Predators.
Yeah. No, I mean, what organisation is he fighting in?
Bellator.
Bellator. Yeah. Has he always been in that?
What?
Has he always been in Bellator?
There was some first ones he started off in, but then he went in Bellator. UFC's offered him a lot of contracts, but he didn't really take them because, from what I know is UFC, you only can have one sponsorship or something like that. With other ones, you can have more sponsorship, so there's more opportunities in that one, and better for him to grow. And right now he's in the middle of actually doing something which I ain't gonna say now, but he's in the middle of where he's gonna go next and stuff.
Yeah. So what was the trajectory like? How he obviously kept pursuing that, and he got into.
So I was 21 at the time. Martial arts wasn't really paying no money in it. I didn't see no future in it, and I wanted to make money, and the only way I knew how to make money was the street stuff. And I went quite full on into the street stuff, and I was making quite really good money. And then it wasn't until years later that Michael went up, because he still carried on doing the fighting that we used to do, and there wasn't no money in it. But he got a big name, he got really good, and then when everything started to change over, it was the right time for him.
Yeah.
It's like, if there was social media back when I was there, I would have been quite up there, because the way I used to show off and how you watch him, I used to do the same thing, so I was cheeky. But then on the mat, we did it for show. Off the mat, we're so humble. So it's like, only now people start to learn about my page now of he's not what you see him. That's just TV. Off the mat, we're very humble people.
Yeah. So what was your first actual real job, and when did you start that?
I've done jobs on and off in between, and it's stuff that made me think about the world that we live in. So I saw people making money off road and people making money the normal way. I think my first job was, this was just before my brother's death. I was working for Morelli Cappuccinos. They're like a little cafe little place, little well, I think posh for our area, but it's not posh. And I used to make sandwiches and all that stuff in the background. You know, and even then I was trying to do little side hustles at the same time. I done that, then my brother died, and then got lost a little bit in the system. Then, you know, I think there was a Christmas time before I was going to try a job, try to get some extra money. I was trying to do labouring, and I was working my arse off and getting this bit of money. I was thinking something like that. Looking at my parents, looking at my friends' parents, I think that if I follow this route, I'm going to end up like them. And every father or parent says, son, go to school, study hard, get good grades, and you get a good job. And I'm like, it's funny because when I look at that routine, everyone who follows that, where do they end up? And I'm like, I don't want to end up there. Yeah. So, you know, there was a good job actually, really opened up my eyes. They ain't open no more, I don't think. HMV, so they used to sell the CDs, the videos, DVDs, and all that stuff. Massive shops. I was working there through Christmas time trying to get some extra money. And it was in the warehouse, so I wasn't actually working in the main shop, I was working in the warehouse of it. And the bring a plaque of all these DVDs or videos or whatever, and I've got to stick the price on and the barcode at the back. And it's massive, all these DVDs, I'm getting to the bottom of them, and then when I get to the bottom, I'm like, yeah, I'm finished, and then bang, they bring another one. I'm thinking, fucking hell. And there was a guy, he's working there, and another guy's working there, and we started talking. He's been here for 3 years, this one's been here for like 6, 7 years. Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, how the fuck you not working for that long? And then I was like, why do we have to stand up for? Because we're at this place about that high and, you know, and putting all the stuff in. And I'm thinking, can't we have a seat? Yeah. And the guy goes, no, can I have a seat? And I was like, why? He goes, because you work slower. You fucking cheek. And then I said, like, why are we so far apart? And he said, because you're not too close, you start talking. So it works slower. I was like, fucking hell, man. It's like slave labour. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'm only doing this for Christmas. And I look at these people and I'm thinking, like, again, I don't want to be like these people. So, you know, again, I'm trying to look at that. If I go down this road, so trying to find it's going to end up here. If I go down this road, there's more money in this. And again, it's a bit hard to explain. I was talking to someone a couple of days back. Is that my mum and dad's generation, my generation, and even maybe your generation and a little bit younger, is that totally different. You know, my parents, you know, it was all push and pull stuff. You know, everything's grafting. We was known for the mutant thumbs because only in our generation we started using our thumbs like this. Yeah. You lot, it's natural to have your thumb like this. You know, when I had my mum try to use the phone, she's like, no. And it shows you that the difference. So my mum and dad, what they was watching on TV, they were like, wow, you know, that's the future in like 100 years or 200 years. Bang! Next day they wake up, that's how it is. 20 years. You know, they've got these things you're walking around, if you could talk to someone else on the other side of the world, they would never believe that would happen. Yeah. And then my generation is that, you know, came from that, and then all of a sudden, bang! You know, technology boom, that there's computers, this, that, and internet and phones. Is that in my school we had no computers. There was one computer room, because we came from a bit of a bad school, no one could go into that computer room because we really fucked things up. You know? So it's like, yeah, it's from people, like, say when I was growing up, my uncle, my dad, and everyone, they're all grafters. If I came from a middle class or upper class family, they might be saying to me that computers is the way, technology is the way. But we wasn't installed with that. We were like, you know, most are going to be a builder. You know, the best thing they always say is that become a doctor, a lawyer, or a dentist. Right? You know, they're like the three highest jobs you're going to get. But is that maybe middle class and upper class children, they're always getting shown different routes to that. So you know, it wasn't even my mind to be doing all this technology stuff and where it was going to go. You know, now the new generation, and they're born in that technology things. That where when I was a kid, when I get home from school, I'm out on the road. I'm climbing and going to just old buildings, broke down buildings and stuff like that. Yeah. Where kids today, they're just at home on their phone or playing a computer game. They stay in all the time. You to the friend that wanted to kill his on the computer game.
It seems to be a lot easier to make money online and stuff like that now. But was there? Do you have a story that you can tell, of like maybe a time when you actually started like making some decent money, like opportunity like came up, whether it be like in the streets or in business or anything like?
I was quite lucky. I mean, I had opportunities coming past me all the time. So it's like I like to look at life like a book. Like all storybooks have chapters. And some books have a few chapters, some have more chapters. And in my life, it's like, or should I say, most people I know, they go to school, come out of school, maybe go to college, university, then they get a job, they get married, or they find someone, get them pregnant, have kids, and they work till they're retired. I mean, they're lucky to get one holiday a year. Yeah. And that's their chapters. It's not many chapters in that. Where, in my life, I've had so many different chapters of and opportunities from the past. You know, I done modeling when I was a little kid. I done the martial arts. I done different businesses. I was running like doing promotions in nightclubs. I used to fight for the martial arts, and I used to travel while doing that. I used to fight for England on the boxing team. I got to do some traveling with that. I lived the street life. I lived the fast life, the slow life. You know? Yeah, it's like so. There were so many different opportunities. There was even like with my fighting. I remember I got a letter from nowhere, it came from America about me going to university out there to do fighting. And I think I was like about 15. And like, I was thinking, wow, like, you know, imagine going to America. And I'm thinking, you know, like, thinking about that now, like, imagine I went to America. The whole life was different. Yeah. But there was always like opportunities, but not technology-wise.
Yeah. So once all that stuff was done, then once you just, when was the time when you completely stopped and you decided you're going to stop doing this and you want to start like a real business or like a real?
Yeah, I did say it earlier. It's I was in Mexico. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I had things going on, and got a phone call from someone and said one of my good friends been banged up in prison for doing something. Yeah. And he done this part time. I'll do this full time. And I always said to people, so many people say, when I do stuff, I do it correct. I work smart. I watch my back. I watch my steps. I always said, you're stupid if you believe that. Yeah. When you're dealing with someone, you don't know who they're dealing with. You don't know who they're dealing with. You don't know who they're dealing with. And when police do big operations, they look at this person, people above them, and the people below them, and then they do one big swoop and get everybody. Yeah. So it's that, sometimes it's just your time. And he came, literally so unfortunate that he must have dealt with someone and that happened. I thought that couldn't be me. And I was sitting there in Mexico and I was going out with that girl at the time, Asian girl, and I just wanted to do my life like that. So I came back and I think I was doing the boxing as well. I was going for the Olympics as well, so there was that on there. I started off a security company.
Also like boxing. Did you say you boxed in the Olympics? No,
I was boxing and I was going to go for the Olympics in 2012. I was going through the whole qualifier stuff and that, and it kind of missed out on that. So I mean, that's another story on itself as well. It's that I started boxing at 27, and I knew that my goal was out. I'm 27, I'm starting really, really late. But I've got the skill set, that I can really make things happen. So if I can just win everything before 2012 and get the Olympics, it'd be an easy road. Like if I can get in the Olympics, like when you turn pro from coming from Olympics, it's an easy road. If you just turn over pro with nothing, no credentials, like it can be a long road. It's like you don't know about boxing so much. Like it's the most dirty cutthroat business. And so I was winning everything in that. And I was doing so good. I had the right people in my team to make stuff happen, connections. And I just missed out by that much. And then that was a thing that I was like, what do I do now kind of thing? And I was
but did you just lose a couple of matches or?
No, so I went, my trainer said to me that, and he was like one of the biggest trainers in that whole school. He was like, Simon, you win this year, I'll give you to the Olympics. I'll give you an unlimited fee. So he's got to win this. So I went there and had this fight, and it ended up turning out to be one of the worst fights ever.
Yeah.
My style was a very awkward fighter, and I was fighting this guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he was a good fighter, and it's all point scoring, like that old school point scoring.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what my score was. But going in the last round, I was 2 points up, and I didn't know. The way my trainer was talking to me, and he always talks like in a certain way, and I've never taken no notice of him. This time I'm listening to him, I'm thinking, shit, I must be losing. So I think, shit, I'm going to have to try and knock him out this round. So, try and knock someone out, sometimes you've got to take a punch to try and land a big one.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I was the favourite to win. Like all the I had a good relationship with all the judges, everyone knew who I was. And I was a favourite. And at the end, even some of the judges saying, Simon, man, what happened, man? So, it was like, you was 2 points up in the last round. You didn't even have to, and I'm good at moving. I was thinking, when I heard that, it made me even worse. Because I think to myself, fuck, I was 2 points up. If I knew that, man, if I don't want to get hit, it's so hard to hit me if I don't want to be hit. And I could have played that game and I could have been, it would have been a different world. I wouldn't be where I am now. So it's like a lot of things I look back in my life. It's like, my brother, if that didn't happen, where would I be?
What exactly happened?
With that, I just tried to knock him out and I gave away points unnecessary. I could have just played with him and just kept my distance. I carried on the way I was boxing. I might have still came out on top. That would have put me into that position. And, I might have went into the Olympics and from there I would have been a bit of like a celebrity. It would have changed my whole life. But
what was your mental state after?
The universe didn't decide that for me. It's a bit hard because I was thinking to myself that with boxing and martial arts, you've got to put all your eggs in one basket. And I put everything in that. And then when that happened, I'm thinking, shit, I'm 30, I was thinking I was coming up to 31. And to become pro at 31 with no credential, it could be that I might have to have 20 fights. 15 fights until I can go for maybe a British title or something like that. And I'm thinking that's long. And there was a choice of that, do I go down that road or do I go back into trying to do business stuff again? So that's when I went to Mexico with my girlfriend as well, and trying to think about stuff I wanted to do. That's when I heard about my friend getting arrested. And I thought to myself, you know what, maybe think of a new business. And before then, me and my friend, we used to run nightclubs, do commercials and stuff like that, big nightclubs. And he contacted me and he said to me that, look, got an opportunity for you. You want to do security work? I was like, security? I was like, I don't want to do no security work. He goes, no, I mean that you want to set up your own little firm. So I'm going to have this little club thing. I need 10 security, working twice a week, 12 hours. And I looked at the maths and I was thinking, oh, that's nice. And it's a little bit cash in hand as well. So I was thinking, sweet. I was making like £1,200 when doing 2 days work.
Yeah.
And I was always smart. It's like that whole saying, some people work hard, some people work smart. So at first, I worked the whole 12 hours with everybody, learn how everything works. And then after, eventually, I'll come in for the first maybe hour and help everyone set up. And then fuck off for like 10 hours, come back for the last hour, help everyone clear up, get everybody out, have a debrief, pay everybody, and fuck off home. So I was doing 2 hours a day, 2 days, so 4 hours a week. I was coming £1,200.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like you were sort of doing this at the same mental state as me, where you're just like always looking for that easy, quick and grab. You're never actually thinking about building like a legacy or like an empire or a business that could last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It was always just getting I want to make money.
That could have went to a big thing, but it wasn't my love that I wanted to do. It's just that, like I said, I needed money.
Yeah. Opportunity
came. I thought, I can make some money on this until the next opportunity comes by. I had a subcontract with Warner Brothers, with all the big films and that. And I was doing like 24 hours security work for them. It was done really good. That was really good money. It's only because of certain things happened that the whole business kind of crashed, plus COVID as well. But that was really good. I mean, that's how I started traveling. There was one time I was sitting there, because all my businesses and all my jobs that I'd done, hardly do any fucking work, but I get good fucking money. And then when I'm doing security work, at first, just doing it 2 days a week, earning fucking good money. My friend lost the contract thing for this business, for this nightclub stuff, what he was doing. So now I lost that contract. And my little jobs I had was like little pubs, little this, only 2-man and 1-man jobs. Peanuts I was fucking making. So I'm thinking, what the fuck? Making peanuts again. And yeah, it's like then I got that contract with the Warner Brothers. That started making real good money. I was going to say something, I can't remember what I was going to go with, but that was making good money. That's it. So before I only do small hours. When I started working with the Warner Brothers and I still had some of my other contracts going on, I was working at 12 hours, sometimes that I was doing 24 hours, 48-hour shift, because I might have a 10-man team in, a 20-man team in for the day shift. When the night shift guys come, one end don't turn up.
Yeah.
Now I've got to keep these people pleased, people I'm working for, and I'm thinking, shit. So I've just done a 12-hour shift, so I might have to just do another 12-hour shift, unless I can quickly get someone to come in and cover me.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, when the day shift guys come back in, one of them will fucking drop out.
Yeah.
And then I might end up doing fucking 56.
You didn't have no backup workers?
Well, no, you do, but it's like, so this is why a lot of people say to me that, and even not long ago, someone said to me last time, man, I want to start my own security company. And the first thing I say to them is like, man, trust me, it's not something that you want to get into. You're like, no, man, I see you making money, I feel like I can make money, I've been doing security, I feel like I can make money. I'm like, man, it looks good on the outside, but it's fucking shit. I said, look, you got monkeys working for you, yeah? Fucking, you're gonna have monkeys, yeah, it's gonna be shit.
Yeah.
That, give monkey peanut, was it peanuts? I can't remember, what was that?
Bananas.
Yeah, give the monkeys peanuts or whatever. But it's that, in the security thing, there's no one with, you come out of university. Let's say you had let's say I had a lawyer company. These people got through university. They work hard. Yeah, I might only need a 10-man team or a 5-man team to make it work. But with the security thing, these people are dropouts. They never achieved nothing. And they got these badges, which they were given out, like fucking tokens. Anyone can get one. You can have one arm, one leg, and blind, and one eye, and get a security badge.
Yeah.
Like, I see some of these guys with security, like skinny guys. You know?
The same as construction, pretty much. Like.
Yeah, so you're relying on monkeys to run your business. It's like, I say to people, if you had a kid, yeah, you're going to drop your kids off to some dickhead people to look after your kids. Of course not. It's the same thing with business. Your business is your baby. And I'm relying on fucking, don't get me wrong, I have great security, some of them, but the majority of them are fucking worthless. And I'm relying on them to run my business. So it's like I said, these are the type of people who wake up and think, shall I go to work, shall I not go to work? And an hour just before work, they'll call me and say, a message with you, I can't come to work. I'll find out, I say, you think you're going to call me an hour before work that you can't come in? And I say, fucking me, you better get out and start coming in. Not feeling well, I've got this, I've got that. And I'll try and get them in. Some of them you get in, but some of them you can't. So it's like, who are you going to get in like in 45 minutes? No one. So then I have to jump in. Then I'm there on my phone trying to get someone, which might take 3 hours, 4 hours. I have to try and pay them a little bit extra money to get them to come in. If not, then I'm working at 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
And so that's 24 hours now I've done. And then the day shift comes, and one end up turn up. And the most I've done one time was 56 hours straight. And the thing is, the contract was so good that I can't fuck up. You know, I need to make sure that I'm capable of supplying demand and doing what they need to do for the business.
Did you meet anybody working for Warner Brothers, like any actors or?
Yeah, I saw a couple of people like Jason what's his name? I don't really follow famous people now. What's that guy from Mission Impossible? Tom Cruise. It's that, man, there's some famous people that Tom Cruise that is a bit known and that, but so many famous people I don't know. And some like, do you know that is? I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
I'm just scared, it's scary.
It's like, unless this person's saving the world and doing some big massive changes in the world, I don't care if you kick a football into a net or you act to be somebody else. It's not a massive thing to me. It's that,
yeah. That's interesting, man. It's like, it's just more so, I bet you know like all the fighters and stuff though, like that was just more your thing.
Yeah, I mean, I knew quite a lot of fighters, but the fighters I knew was in a different era. Like, so now I know some of the top fighters out there, but they ain't my really close friends. Even now, there's a lot of world championship boxers who I know who came from my gym.
Yeah.
We were friends in the gym. It wasn't no more than that. Not that we used to meet up with each other outside the gym.
Yeah.
So it was, obviously I got down there, they did really good,
Yeah.
no mess with me back.
When did you start traveling? When did that come about? Do you feel like that was like a start of a part of your journey of, I don't know, finding yourself?
Yeah, that's quite a good one. So I had one of my mentors, and he was actually my mentor from young. He's always in the background. It's like, not a great believer. Like, you want to believe in like guardian angels and stuff like that. There's always like a guardian angel when I look at it, because he was there from when I was like 7, 8 years old in the background. He goes missing and comes back. Like, it was always influencing me. And then with my brother's death, he's another one that my mum and dad worship. Like, if he wasn't there, I would have lost my mental state.
Yeah.
If I just thought of him and I was in a really bad way, he would pop up. I'll be walking down the street and I'll be like, fuck hell, man. I need so and so, that I need to talk to someone. And he would pop up.
Yeah.
A message would come in. He used to spend he'd be with me like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd be sitting in the car and just talking, And every time he talks, like, he's very smart. Like, so you think you're having a discussion, but he's putting little sparks in your head, little knowledge stuff in your head, without you even knowing it. It's amazing like that. And I remember one time he said to me that, so I was like 16, 17. He said, Simon, you should go traveling. If you go traveling, it will change your life. He said that there's only so much you can learn here. You're a product of your environment. You only know what's your environment. You step out your environment and you're very capable. You're a people's person. So you'll get on anywhere. He said, you go out, you're going to learn different cultures, language, different sceneries, you're getting out your comfort zone. You've got to do everything by yourself. You can't rely on anyone else. Everything's done on yourself. Like, this will change you. So that you do this for 1 year, right? You're going to go from here to here. And when you come back to your area, everybody's still going to be doing the same job, talking about the same shit, going to the same nightclub or the same pubs, and he was so fucking mad. And when he told me when I was 16, 17, I didn't go traveling until I was out in my 30s.
What were you like? This guy's crazy or something like that?
No. So this guy was
actually got you to go overseas.
Yeah, he was always right. He was always my mentor, my biggest mentor, still up to today. And my dad, he's the most stubbornest guy. And even he says that, he hates on me. But then I said, why is that? He goes, because he's always right. He was always right. And there's nothing he ever got anything wrong. He was always right. And I was like, I hate to be wrong. I always try to be right. And he was always right this time. And I've done this unfortunately. If I would have went 17 when he told me to, where would that have took me? But then I always look at it and think that everything has its timing. If I would have went then, I was young. I would have went out, all these pretty girls around. I was young, better looking, big face, green eyes. I've been running after girls and skirts and all that stuff. I would have maybe taken it in the way I took it in when I was older. When I was older, I was much more older and wiser. So when I went out, I was on party stuff. I wasn't chasing girls. I was in a different mindset. So when I went at a later age, amazing. But if I went young, two sides. I might have been tracing skirts, but then at the same time, it might have been different. I might have been like, wow, man, this is crazy. Like, you're coming from Hackney, East London, like concrete jungle, to going out to Thailand and Cambodia and all these places. And I'm a people person, so there's two sides. I might have been tracing lots of skirts, but then I would have loved the culture and all that stuff. I love history, and so maybe if I went young, maybe it would have took me somewhere even more special. But then, I'm a bit of a believer in law of attraction kind of thing, and I asked for certain stuff when I was younger, and it's took me to where I am now. So maybe I need, like I said, when I was a little kid, I said I wanted to change the world. That was my oldest memory. I said I always wanted to change the world. And in a way, it's that the universe hears that and goes, you want to change the world, yeah? You sure, yeah? You say, yeah, okay. For you to change the world, you need to experience this, experience that, experience this, experience that. And I think that in some ways, I'm not saying 100% believe in it, but it's that I look at my life and it's that I've had so many chapters. I've had experiences that people would never have, and I hope that some of them don't have the same experiences, with the murders, that, my brother was only one of many of people I lost tragedy. It kind of made me who I am today. And it's that either I was doing a charity one time, and it's that, I was with the most poorest people in the world, and that changed my concept, and I can't remember what I'm going with this, but in life it's like, it's shown me certain ways, and if I would have went travelling when I was younger, I don't know, it's always a thing that I think about.
You need to go through all that shit to appreciate like what you've got now and what you're doing now. Sometimes I feel like you need to go through all that shit. I always think about now, like, how much better would I have been if I started my journey a lot earlier instead of doing all the street stuff? And imagine if I started my business back instead of doing that, like how successful I'd be now, how much money I'd have now. But I had so much fun back then. Still, I did start traveling really young, but I appreciate it and I opened my eyes up to what's out there. But it pretty much just was like a party. Like when I went overseas, I was going overseas to pretty much just go and ride myself off pretty much and like do other things. Like I did go snowboarding and like do some adventure things, but I didn't really take it in. And now like this is probably one of the first trips that I've been on where it's like really open my eyes, because I've been like a lot more mature to take things in and like actually, instead of just drinking all the time, I can actually like network with people like yourself and some other people that I've met, and like actually, think about like my future and just everything that's going on. Before I was just like living in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the planning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a film called Butterfly Effect. I'm mostly too young for it.
No, I've heard of it. Is that the one with it's got Ashton Kutcher in it?
I can't remember it, but all I remember is that the theme of the story is that everything can go kind of two ways.
Everything affects something else. Yeah.
So it's like, my life has been like that. It's like, let's say that my brother's death. My brother didn't die. Who would I be now? Because I went through a bad bit with that. It's like, I was this happy child. The world's on my oyster. I could do anything, And when that happened, it just totally turned my life in a totally different way. Like it mean like my outlook on life changed. And like if I had my brother with me, he's like we were always doing stuff together. We were very tight. So like my life would be totally different. If I would have done this, if I would have done that, it would have been so many different. It's always like that. It's like the butterfly effect. It's like even like where I am now. To where I am now, it's all butterfly effects.
Yeah. What was one of the where was the first place you go overseas?
Thailand. So if we take it back a little bit, I've always been lucky that when the martial arts and that I was travelling a little bit. So this is what made me different from all the other kids around my area. I got to see the world, so it changed my concept a bit like what you were saying. When you go and travel, it's like wow, I was like as. So that was my head start. And I've done a bit of travelling. When I've done the proper solo backpacking, I went straight to Thailand. And it's quite funny because when I went there, I was like, wow, I want to make this fucking hard. I want to go really through it. So I didn't book nothing. What I did, I booked my ticket, and that's it.
That's what I like to do as well, like.
And
part of the adventure.
Adventure, yeah, man. It's like throw yourself in the deep end, survival, So as we landed, I started talking to this guy sitting next to me, and he's like, where are you going to go? He just sat down. I was like, I don't know. He said, you got anything booked at a hotel? I was like, no.
Have you done any research at all? Just like,
well, I've done a lot of research for that, because I've planned this for a year, so it was like on YouTube, like, where to go and what to do and what to look out for.
Yeah.
So when I got there, it's like, I got on a plane, and this guy told me on the plane, like, go to Koh Sam Road. So that is where all the most backpackers go and all that stuff. So I was like, Koh Sam Road. So I got off. I didn't even get a taxi. I thought, Right, how do I get to Koh Sam Road? Like a bus or train. So I was doing that, and then I was walking with my rucksack on, and I bumped into this girl, and she was like, I said to her, "Oh, Koh Sam Road?" She goes, "Oh, man, I can show you." So yeah, sweet. So I went with her, and we got to Koh Sam Road. Koh Sam Road is this party road, like massive party road. The whole road was all party and stuff. Okay, what the fuck? It's late at night. She's like, sweet. And I said, go, have a drink. Because she helped me out. Sat down, have a drink with her, started talking to these other people. She went, and before you know it, I looked at my watch, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I think, shit, I ain't bought nothing. Everything's closing up. Yeah. I learned about these apps, like, it was like Hustle World and Gola and all that. And then bang. It's like, once you got a phone, it's too easy to travel. Like, there was hostels all around. And I went to this hostel, I can't remember it. It was like, it was a cheap one anyway. But it was quite funny because remember I went to bed, I was in half drunk, and then when I was sleeping, all of a sudden, bang, the doors opened up and a big light came through. Now, back home, I had 2 pit bulls. Right? You come to my house, before you get to my dogs will pick you up already, so they're barking.
Yeah.
So, I'm sleeping, I kind of forget in another fucking world. So all of a sudden, my dog go bang! And obviously I'm thinking of that all the old stuff that I used to do, someone's trying to fucking bomb me or something, So I jumped up and then that 3, 2, 1 bang, I remember, oh shit, I'm in a hostel, I'm in Thailand. Fucking hell, man. Because it's like that one little second, like I just thought to myself, how did you pass my dogs? Like, how did you get in? Like, what the fuck, are you police? Are you someone trying to rob me?
It's like PTSD.
Yeah. And I mean, that was a good thing with traveling as well. It's like, you don't have to look over my shoulder. It's like, it's a whole change. So I went to Thailand. I've done 6 months Thailand. Then went to Cambodia.
Tell us a story about in Thailand. Like, obviously, that was your first travel experience. Surely you got like a cool story from there.
Yeah, like Thailand. I've done 3 days in Bangkok. Met up with a guy. And then we went to Chiang Mai. We went to Pai. And I was meeting people. It was amazing. Then I met this guy called Jonas from Germany. Me and him, we clicked. It was only open for like 3 weeks or a month. And he was like, oh man, I want to leave soon. I want to go down south. So I went south with him. Went south, went to Koh Tao. And he went, ended up staying there. And I'm a people's person. And this hostel I was staying at, cut long so short. He was like, Simon, man, you can stay here for free. So I ended up staying there for like an extra month in Thailand. And then I overdone my visa. I checked up online, it's like, you just got to pay so much for each day, but if it's like a month, you get in trouble. If it's 3 months, you lose it. If it's a year, you can't come back for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think I only done like a couple of days over myself. I was making money at the time, so I thought, I have to pay it off. Then I went to Cambodia, and then a lot of people was following me on social media, and that's what I wanted to do, is that I wanted to influence people from where I come from, that it's more to life, because like I said, I come from an urban area, and I always try to influence people to do better. So people were following this journey, and then one of my friends messaged me and said, our friend Dean is over there. I think Dean, I don't know Dean. He goes, you don't know Dean? I was like, no. Dean does this, he's like a traveler guide kind of thing. Yeah. So he takes 10, 20 people and shows you around, and every 2, 3 days you go to a different spot. So anyway, he hooked us up, and then he was just starting up a new trip, and he said, look, we got to do pay for your food and stuff, and the travel and your accommodation is on us. Yeah. And that's sweet. So then every 2 to 3 days we traveled all around Cambodia, and I saw all the best parts of Cambodia, and I was traveling with this group of like 15 people. That was amazing. I love history. You had Angkor Wat, the biggest temples in the world. I didn't know too much about it. Yeah. Then you had the killing fields, all the killing what they've done in Cambodia. I've never heard of that. I love history, never heard of it. It's like, Thailand was a great adventure. Cambodia was history, and it was an amazing place anyway. And from there I went to...
How was the culture shock for you, going from where you were to going to somewhere over there? What was going through your head?
But I had 2 of my mentors always said, Simon, you're you're like a fucking, you can be put anywhere in the world. Chameleon, that's it. You're like a chameleon. You change, you switch wherever you want. I've always been like that. Is that coming from an urban area, you see the people I was mixing with upper class people, these people, that person. With my other friends, it won't really be stepping into them kind of landmarks where I was. And so when I was traveling, I thought, why not? And I saw other people traveling back in, they're kind of conservative. Where I was living with families and meet these people, who don't really speak English, and end up staying with them, but somehow we were translating. Then I've done 6 countries in 6 months. And,
did you have a plan? Did you just go over there and say, I don't know how long I'm going for, and just go?
I was like, you know what? Throw me in the fucking deep end, and I'm just gonna deal with it. And
did you save up a bunch of money, or did you?
So
over there, or?
Sorry, fucked it up. So a lot of people, when they watch my travels, they always think that fucking he's living the fucking best life. They don't see the shit that goes on in the background. And I was planning for this trip for a whole year, and I had my security company, I set everything up. It was 12 days before I was going to go traveling. I was just going to pay my security on my phone, and bang, this thing come up saying, contact your bank. So I couldn't pay no one. Contact the bank. They said that our bank account's been frozen. They got a contact company house. They said, we shut down your business as well. I'm like, what? This is 12 days before I'm going to travel. All my money is saved up in my fucking business. That's where all my money was. And I think, oh my God. And it's then it got to the last 3-4 days. And my mum always says that, oh, you're like a cat. You always land on your feet. You be right. I'm like, no, mum, this time it's different. And I'm stressing out. I think, oh my God, how the fuck? And it's
half a kilo of cocaine in your.
That's what I'm saying. I stopped doing all the shit. So I'm like, now that, because I had about £4,000 in my account for this trip. And I was saving up all this money in the big water bottles.
Yeah.
So I had this thing that every time I use a note, I'll buy something. And all the cash, the change I put in there. So I'll only buy stuff in notes. So if I had £5 and something costs £1, I'll get £4 back, but I want to spend that on it. When I come home, I always have a bunch of coins.
Yeah.
I had that bottle, I had just over £2,000. Yeah. That was going to be my extra bonus. Because of my finger closed down, I'm not paying everyone. So that money went and paid everyone for that 1 week, that over £2,000. Then the second week came, I got no money. And I borrowed money from a friend, I paid off everyone, and I'm thinking, shit. And like I said, I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to try and work this out? My mum was like, no, you work this out, you always do. I was like, Talk to my accountant, he's a top way accountant. Talk to my mentor, who's never wrong. I won't say he was wrong in this, but I always say he's never wrong. But both of them said to me, Simon, best thing, you have to put your trip back 5 months, you've got to sort this out, you've got to open up your business again, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I was like, nah, man, I'm stressing. I've been through so much shit that if I don't go on this, I might have a little breakdown.
Yeah.
I need to get out because life was getting on to me a little bit. I needed to break away. That's why I wanted to travel this. I needed a new purpose in life. And that's why I was going on this trip. I just needed to get away. And then, 3 days before traveling, I came up with this idea and I put it to towards my accountant. And he was like, that could work. And then I put this idea and it fucking worked. So I went traveling with 270 something pounds in my pocket. That's all I had. Right?
What was the plan?
So what it was is that my bank account was closed, and all my clients that I used to work for, I said, look, could I have a good relationship with them? And I said, look, instead of paying me in my business account, I've got a problem like that. Can you pay me in my personal account? There's like, Simon, as long as you give us an invoice, we don't give a fuck where the money goes. So that's sweet. So they didn't start paying me into my normal account. My accountant said, you can do this for 6 months, we'll be right. So I went away with like 270 something pounds in my pocket, and I just knew that it's going to take a month for some more money to come in. So it was like a hustle.
So you were the business was still running while you were.
So the business was running. There's a book called The 4 Hours Work Week.
Yeah. How did you go managing that while you were overseas?
So I had someone who deals with my someone deals with my admin stuff. I have a person on the ground who deals with security. Like I used to do like timekeeping, make sure you've got the right security in the right numbers, who's going to be where, get the timesheets, take care of that. And then they'll pass it over to the admin person will send me all the hours of everybody, and then I was kind of paid one for my time.
Yeah.
That's it, really. And the odd time, some bullshit that one of the security can't turn up, so then I'm there at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning because of the time difference, trying to fucking phone up people, trying to take do the placement. So, so I started traveling. And I was living at 4 hours of work week. First, I was doing 10 hours a week, then it got down to 8, then it got down to 6, then I was doing like 4 hours a week. And it's funny because I was reading that book beforehand, like 4 hours work week. I made it happen. And I remember one time, one of my mentors said that, you're only in real business now when you sit on your ass and you're doing nothing and you're earning money. Yeah. So if you're working, you're always you just create your own job. I was like, yeah. And my other mentor said that when you can make money when you're sleeping, that's real business. And I remember I was on the underground, and when you're on the train, you've got these little posters up. It's like, make money when you're sleeping. It was something else, but it just triggered me in my head. When I was traveling, I remember sitting there thinking to myself, shit, I should make money when I'm sleeping, because when I'm sleeping, because of the time difference, people are working. So I'm actually fucking doing it. That's how I was always going to do it,
Well, either way, it's fucking, you're not doing it, but then you're making money.
Yeah. So that was cool. So I travelled around. I went back to Thailand as well. There was a time when I was in Thailand, actually. And I was in Laos. Went to Laos, I met this old guy. Got dropped off at like 12 o'clock in the morning, midnight. Had no Wi-Fi, no data on my phone, and middle of nowhere. And trying to check into his hotel. And they was trying to rip me off because he knew I was fucked. And then I met this old guy, chat to him, and he goes, fuck with him. He goes, look, if you want, come sleep tomorrow with me. So he goes, he says, up to you. And I was like, fuck it, I was in a bad situation. So I said to him, but then afterwards, me and him, we were traveling together. Obviously, I had my own room after that, but we were traveling. And it was him who actually pointed it out that I was looking for purpose. And he was actually one who said, to me, being with you for a little while, it's in your face. I see you since you've been here, all you do is helping people with time. So one of the things I've also done in Thailand is that there's an old Thai boxing gym for these young kids. There's a real fucked up Thai boxing gym. It's on a back street. And all their gear was fucked. Like, one of the punch bag was like 20 years old. And it's been patched up so many times. So the gloves, when you put the glove in the boxing glove, you shouldn't able to see your hand. Their one was that my pit bulls had it for like 2 weeks. It's all that. You can see the whole hand in it. Yeah. So I ended up raising money for them. I think it was like 6 days. I raised £1,500. Bought them all gloves and pads and everything, man. And that's how I actually got this as well. So this is like a Buddhist thing, really, really old stuff.
How did that make you feel doing that charity work?
Yeah, man. It's what I love doing. It's like a drug. When you help people, and that's what it's always been for me. It's like a drug. When I help people, I feel buzzing from it. And when I've done that, it was amazing. It's like, again, I can't speak their language, and the families were so welcoming because they had nothing. That was at the end of training. The parents come and they all bring their own little bit of food, and we all eat in the ring together. And they was inviting me out to here, there, to sleep at their homes if I wanted to, and work stuff. So
do you have sort of like an epiphany then, and you were like, this is actually what I want to do?
Yeah, it was that epiphany. It was like it's staring in my face all that time. I've always helped people, always been good at it, and I'm always trying to avoid it. I'm trying to do something else that will be like a big businessman trying to make big money. And then that was the epiphany. So now I went back home to England, and I thought to myself, right, how can I do this? But with me, like we said, I don't like working from the ground up. I want to jump from there to there somehow. And so next time I went travelling, I took my mum and dad travelling. So that was one of my biggest goals as well, was to get my mum and dad to retire. They done everything for me. Love all that they used to have 3 jobs at one time working, just so we can have a little bit extra. So I helped them pay the mortgage kind of thing, and took them travelling.
Yeah.
And
is it from the security business or?
Yeah. So that and some other ideas and all that, and we took them travelling. And it's funny, it's the one time in my life that I wasn't looking for purpose, I wasn't looking for new ideas for money. I was like, just traveling with my family. That's what I always wanted.
Yeah.
And I got 2 little brothers as well. And so one time I wasn't thinking about it. And when I was in Philippines, I got a message from one of my friends, Claire. She said, like, you in the Philippines? I was like, yeah. She was like, I got a friend who works with like really poor kids. Like, you're always good with ideas. Like, maybe you can go and help, or maybe do some teaching. I was like, yeah, sweet. So I said to my mum and dad, like, you know what? You lot go on to Vietnam, and I'm gonna meet you there maybe in like 7 days or something. And I went to this place and got on the sat nav where I'm supposed to go, and supposed to be meeting this woman, Jane. And the sat nav should have said go right, but I ended up, it said go left, so I went left. And I walked into this rubbish dump site. And it's like fucking one of the most poor, well, it is the poorest place I've ever seen in my life. It's like where all the rubbish in the country kind of gets dumped off. Yeah. And these people are living in the most smallest shanties. Like I say, the rubbish. When I say people, they can't even mind the concept of me. Where all your rubbish, the shit that you throw out in the bins, in the black bags, yeah, all the restaurants throw out all this shit, all gets dumped in one place. That's where these people are living. Live there, eat from it, they work on it, they sleep on it, yeah? And so all these young kids running around in barefoot on this rubbish shit. And
so what, just like in the streets?
No, it's like this little rubbish dump site. It's a dump site.
Where are they actually living? Like?
On the rubbish dump site. Like literally on the fucking rubbish dump site.
Is it in like a house, or like they live out?
No, it's like this massive rubbish dump site where, you know, it's like where you get the big rubbish trucks.
Yeah.
When they pour the rubbish in the trucks and they go somewhere, it's like filled with fucking rubbish.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. So it's like, you know, I walked in there, I was like, whoa, and I remember like looking around. I remember seeing these people going through rubbish and like, they're looking for food stuff and all that stuff. And seeing young kids and this and that. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Then I got a message from the woman I was supposed to be meeting. I said to her, well, she goes, oh, you took a long time. And I went and met her. And I'm happy that it kind of worked that way, because when I met her, she would have showed me it afterwards. But going on here on my own and having that reaction was like, whoa. And then she only had 2-3 hours with me, because she had to go back to England. She was like, you know, she quickly showed me around and set that, and the plan was that I was going to teach some kids martial arts and all that stuff. Yeah. And I remember she went, and then that night I was sitting out on the street side. So where I was on the street side there, across the road is where the rubbish dump is. It's just like a road between us. Sitting there in about 2 hours, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I saw these young kids, like rubbish that's been dumped off on the middle of the road. Right, literally in the middle of the fucking road. Then you've got these massive trucks going by. It's on my social media. And Jackie's going through rubbish and all this stuff. I thought, what the fuck? So I got my phone out, because I was always doing the travel influencing stuff. I thought, I need to show people what I'm seeing, because, you know, so I'm just showing them. I'm trying to talk to these kids, and they can't speak English, and, you know, I thought, you know what, let me give them some money. And I'm getting them equivalent to like £10. That's a lot of money to them. And they carried on, they took the money, but they carried on going through rubbish. And that really hit me. I was like, whoa.
Can they even use that money at all? Like, is there shops around there? Or
well, you know, to them, like, that's a whole week's work.
Yeah.
To them, that's a week's work. But they're so poor in their ways that they were like, yeah, sweet, but the camera's still working. And I was like, rah. And then the next morning, I bumped into these kids.
It's very exciting for them. They never know what they're going to find in the rubbish.
Yeah, man.
They might have some sort of,
well, they always look for plastic from metals. They always look for plastic from metals to recycle. That's the whole thing.
Did they look like they were happy, or they like Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to that happiness thing, definitely. But then, so the next morning I woke up, I went out, and I saw these other bunch of kids. They come running across the road with these sacks, so they had a big like sack, collects rubbish.
yeah.
And there's different time shifts, like, the morning people do the morning ones, that. Anyway, about 8 of them was like running across this crazy fucking road, barefoot, and I see someone going through rubbish, and because I was like filming them, someone like start posing in front of the camera. And it's a brilliant video because I still actually I love watching it. That's the first time I had made contact with these kids. And these 10 kids end up being the kids that I end up taking underneath the wing and telling you. And end up feeding them, clothing them, and then like, a lot of them end up not really working all the time because what I was giving them was a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was a lot. So I kind of like the whole travel thing. You go traveling and just jump in the deep end. With this thing, I kind of jumped in the deep end because I was personally in the deep end just to teach. I ended up thinking that these 10 kids are living my wing kind of thing. And it's like,
How long for?
I think I've done 3 months on the first one. Yeah, I was there for
fun.
yeah.
Like, what were you filming together? Like,
So first I was teaching the kids that from the rubbish dump site, with that certain selected kids that the charity that I was working with, Purple Community Fund, so the woman, Jane, she was a charity group, Purple Community Fund. So I was kind of working with them kind of thing, doing teaching. But then at the same time, I was on my own adventure. I was getting to know the community and how this worked, and I had these 10 kids that I was trying to look after. And of course speak my language. And I speak theirs. So it's like, we started learning how to talk with body language.
What country was this in?
Philippines. So in the Philippines, people are like Manila. Oh yeah, it's a bad place. You think Manila's bad, right? In Manila, we've got a place called Tondo. And you ask any Filipino like Tondo, they go, oh, Tondo, very dangerous. A lot of them say that when they were young, when you travel through there, always lock your doors and do your windows up like that, don't stop. And then it was funny because when I'm in Tondo, we've got this place, the rubbish dump site called Happy Land. Right? The people in Tondo are scared to go into fucking Happy Land. Yeah. So you've got the people in the Philippines scared to go into Tondo, people in Tondo are scared to go into Happy Land. It's like the people with the most fucking messy.
So it's Happy Land where you were?
Yeah, that's like the rubbish dump site. That's where, you've got thousands of people that live on this rubbish dump site.
But that must have been just really fascinating just to see how people living like that.
Man, it's unbelievable to see people, they're living like, someone was at 4 square meters of 6 square meters. And they got a family of 8 or 6 living in there. Their mum, dad, kids, maybe even.
Are they just like makeshift in their own home out of this rubbish?
Yeah, it's like bit of wood and find it's like one of the kids were, on the front they had wood, one side they had wood, and the other side they had this
fucking. What are they like cooking? Are they like cooking their food on something? Or like?
So they got this food called punk punk, and again I've got videos of it. And all that. Punk punk is that let's say that McDonald's or whatever restaurant throw away the food. It takes about 3 days for it to get to the rubbish dump site. So it's been in this heat as well. And they start going through the rubbish and find food and start separating the food from good and bad. Right? You see them on video, they've got chicken, rice, and all this stuff. It's been there for ages. And punk need that to brush off so it can really dirt, maggots, whatever. And they get this and then they recook it, like re-season it up. And some people would get it, cook it, and other people would get so much of it because it's one of their main jobs and they sell it. So 80% of their food sometimes comes from that.
Yeah. There's a lot of people sick there and stuff like that.
Like a lot of people die from young age there sometimes, through medication stuff. And there's a lot of stories like that. And that before I got there, it was even fucking worse. It was like this. From what I saw, it was bad. And any worse than that, I was like, Jesus. And I've heard the stories, you can walk around a lot of times and you find dead bodies that. It's really, really bad place.
What kind of appreciation have you gotten from just being in a place like that after you've gone out? Jesus Christ. Your mindset, even just from at that point there,
gratitude.
How much of your mindset have changed from that point then to when you were like back within
Gratitude. When I first travelling, I was grateful. I thought my life was this and that. When you start living, seeing how other people live in the world, you start being much more grateful. So I thought that, I thought I was grateful before, but now I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And when I went to Rob Sunset, I was like, whoa.
So where were you actually staying?
Literally across the road. Like, there's some pictures that you see where taken
In like a hostel?
Like a little. First, I was in the hostel to start off with. Then I was sleeping. What was the first time? First time, I was sleeping in one little room with some makeshift mattress. And then I had like a little room upstairs. Then the second time, then I went and came back there again, and I had like a little flat thing. But I think one of the biggest things that I always get from there is gratitude. But I remember one of my mentors said to me that it's rich in wealth and it's rich in life. Understand the two differences, it will change your life. When you hear stuff, you can understand something. Sometimes you got to feel it. You don't hear, you must feel. That's what the dad used to say. But it's like when you feel it, then you really understand something. And every morning I used to wake up happy to going into this rubbish dump site every day. And every day I walk down, I always got my kids trying to hold my hand and hold my t-shirt, and they all want to hold my hand. And every time you take a different turning, you get a different pungent smell. As soon as you walk in this rubbish dump site, it smells. But you might turn this corner when you do wet food stuff, so it's a different smell. You might go around this way and stuff been dumped there like a week ago, and it's all this juice stuff in it. It's like, every time you've got a different smell. And getting ready to turn this corner, so I braced myself for a new smell, and then bang, it hit me. I was like, good, rich in life, understand that, rich in wealth, rich in life. I had about £20 in their money in my pocket, I had my keys and my phone, nothing else. I mostly was wearing the same clothes I was wearing yesterday because one of them was dumpsters, so you start to live a little bit different. And I had my kids with me, I had nothing. I was the most happiest man in the world. I felt like I was the richest man. So it's rich in life. I was the richest man. And this really changed my concept of life because it already changed from the first travels when I was traveling. But the whole thing is that, before I was to be a money tracer. And don't get me wrong, I've still got that entrepreneur thing in me, but it's that, man, money, there's people I know who've got lots of money, they're still not happy. And these people had nothing, and everyone's happy. When I've filmed this stuff before, I'm trying to promote, to try to get people to help, to donate money. So I'm trying to film sometimes of bad situations. All the kids are running around, everyone's happy. Every time I'm trying to film them, everyone's happy. I'm like, you look sad. Why? Everyone's happy. The parents are happy, everyone's happy. And after it changed me, I thought to myself, what's happening? Don't try to do what these other people do. Show these people that, and this is what it was. Everyone was mentioning to me, saying that, you changed my concept of life. Someone's complaining in England about their neighbour's dog or this and that. And they say to me, now I'm looking at my kids sleeping in a nice warm bed. Look at your kids sleeping on the streets.
What was their mentality like? How did that?
Man, they was over the moon, man. It's like, there was more this is what really bugged my head, was that these kids are more happier than all the kids in England.
Yeah.
And they got nothing. And all the kids in England got everything, spoiled little brats, and then they're fucking always moaning. But these kids got nothing, they was happy. I remember one time I was trying to say to someone, like, why are you not happy when you got nothing? Like, there was one of them said that, we're just happy that we get to wake up every day. Because any day can be your last day. We're just thanks because they're very religious, is that faith, thanks to Jesus Christ, our Savior, that we get to live every day. I was like, okay, I didn't 100% take it for myself. I was like, that's their outlook. Like I said, it took me so long to get my head around that they got nothing.
Is that one place?
So the charity that I was with, their job is that they send a lot of kids to school, food stuff and stuff like that. So they won't get enough money to fund for all the kids, obviously. Yeah. So a lot of kids they're working on the rubbish dump site, kids rubbish at 4 years old.
Was there like a special person that you had like you think that you had a bond with the most?
All my kids.
There was one.
I call them my kids because that time they were like my kids.
Yeah.
And I ain't got no kids. So it's like, it's closest for me to have kids. It's like, what's his name? Jordan Peterson. Is it Jordan Peterson? There's one thing where he talks about, you don't know exactly to be you're not a real man, a real adult until you have kids. Because when you got a kid, that kid totally relies on you. Their survival, their whole meal of living relies on you. Until you have that on you, you don't know exactly a real man, a real adult. Now, fuck me, you know what, it's fact because I ain't got to rely on myself. But I ain't got no one relying on me to be alive.
Yeah.
And having these kids was like the closest thing at that time. Like, that I thought, I'm going to try and help these kids. And, I started getting a certain amount of money in for people. And, I spoke to Jane about, I'll get more money than I needed. So I said that I thought the next step for my kids is to go to school. So then we started trying to set them up, put them into school. That was like really, really hard to set them into school because there's so many hurdles you have to jump through. And so many kids say got their proper parents, or one of their parents dead, or one of their parents in prison, and some of them, like I said, the parents could be dead, so live with their aunts, and it's like they're trying to get their paperwork, and these people ain't got their paperwork, so they're still in a drawer or something, So it's so hard trying to get some of these kids into school. And then, I think, like I say, there was never no favourites at the kids, but there was one girl who had my heart, Mary Jane. She was like the little princess of our group, and everyone loved her. It's like, I think all the people who was following me was become part of the journey. Like, a lot of people say that they wake up in the morning, the first thing they do, they check their social media to see what I'm doing with the kids. And there's one time someone said to me that, that I'm feeding the kids, saying, how much does it cost me to feed these kids? I said, like £3.50, £5 feed 10 children. Is that really basic food? And I said, coffee. That was the slogan. So I had people message me saying that, Simon, I want to give up coffee today so I can find this food. And then this started, so obviously that's because I'm thank you very much for sponsoring. When everyone started sponsoring, that's when the more money started coming in. And I'll get more money than I needed for just for food. And we sent the kids to school, and it's more in depth with the charity, like trying to do more other projects. We ended up opening up a gym. The gym was nearly finished, but COVID stopped it. There's a volcano that nearly erupted over there. So we went over there, got supplies for people. There's so many things that was going on all the time, and we were trying to.
People are so much more inclined to give to charities or give money if they know exactly where it's going. And by the sound of it, you were the middleman, so people would give. I would be more than happy to give you money if I know that you're going to give 100% of that money or 95% of that money to the kids to help out.
Yeah, this is
what
what
you give to a charity. You don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. So this is what I learned. This is a great game changer, and this is where I am right now in my life. I don't know where I'm going right now. I'm not lost. I've got 3 roads or 4 roads to go to. I don't know what I want to do, but the charity things I always wanted to do. One thing I learned with charity stuff is that
how long ago was this stuff started? Like just before COVID?
So 2018, I think. It would have been 2019 I started, and then up to COVID. So just over a year. And what I started to learn is that people were saying to me that, Simon, I want to give you this money because I know I'll give the money to you, it's going straight to the kids. And I had this thing, I don't trust charity because I know how the charity system works. That it's about only 20% of charities that actually do real charity work. A lot of them is a money funding thing, which I ain't going to go into too depth, but it's a lot of it happens. So when people say to me that, they want to give the money to me, now I realize that people don't buy into charity, people are buying into me as a person. And because I learned a lot of business stuff and I learned a lot of things with taxes and all that stuff, I know that with businesses, there's a tax break. So you can give you can either pay the tax man, or you can give a percentage of that to a charity, and they'll write off as on your taxes. So, and this is what I'm thinking. What I want to do now is that I want to open up a charity, and I know a lot of business people from my journey in my life, and the businesses will pay the overheads for the charity to work, the admin stuff and all that stuff, and then the people who want to give money to charity but are scared to, I can say to them, I can 100% assure you that whatever money you give to me will 100% go towards the cause, the people, or whatever it is, because all my overheads are covered. The businesses pay the overheads, so their money will go towards the cause. And to me, I haven't really seen anyone do that, and it makes perfect sense. And when I speak to business people, they're like, yeah, fuck yeah. Fucking, we're sending that money to fucking Tesco. I'll give you 10,000 or 5,000, you know, at least. And then obviously with them, I'll put their names up in highlights. So business helped us and this, and that's what they want. They want. A lot of people are so endorsed with their business, they want to do good stuff, but they're wrapped up in their businesses. So like, I'm like a funnel that I can, you know, help them achieve what they want and do good stuff.
Can they do? I'm not 100% sure how that works, but I sort of get what you're saying. But so can they? How much of their tax can they put towards? So just say.
So let's say that you got. So let's say you got to pay £10,000 tax on tax man. Most people give about 2,000, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So you can't do your whole tax.
So this is what it is, which I said I wasn't going to go. I won't go too deep into it, but before, like, there's these rich people making this money, and you know, this is me as a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, the game is rigged. So before, you had all these rich people making money, and what they do is start up a charity. Because before, you can give all your tax to charity. So if I'm a rich man, I'm getting all this money, but I've got to pay a shitload of tax to tax man. Open up a charity. I put all that money into the charity, then I pay myself out of that, and then I have another charity. So you know, so they're funding all that money. So you know, they're getting all that back. So let's say that person made 100 grand, and you got to pay 40%. That's 100 grand, yeah. So you got to pay 40,000. Think, oh, give that to the charity. Pay yourself another wage at the charity. You actually get a car for the charity, and this for the charity, that for the charity, expenses. You know, so the government started to pick up on this. So that's why they changed to 20%, 30%. Right?
But it's still like it's still a really good idea.
It's still a big idea, and this is what I wanted to do. Is like I wanted to go back to the Philippines and finish off where I started, because the gym was nearly that finished. But
is it fully just gone to a whole now?
it's I don't want to go into details, but it's like I've got like a block on it kind of thing. I can try and go out there by myself, but it causes up problems. And you know, in a way, it's like there's a block right now. So now I'm sitting there, I've got this idea, and I want to do this charity stuff, but it's blocked, and I want to. I've got another opportunity. I can go to Africa and help to open up a gym there, maybe help teach at first and get that running. And then I feel like, you know, I want to finish off what kind of started, and I want to see my kids can see where they are, because a lot of shit has happened since COVID and all that stuff. And I want to make sure that they're okay.
You don't even know, as sad as it is, you don't even know half of them could even be alive, because if they've got COVID, you don't know how sick.
And some of them I know of, because there's certain people I know that keep me in contact. Like there's a boy called Miko, like he was quite a big favourite of people watching. His dad was dead, his mum was in prison. And so he was always looking after himself. And you know, I've done a video about him, I think about a year ago. He's in like a foster home kind of thing. He's like kind of a little chubby, like he's living a good life. Clean, skin's good. You know, but there was these 3 other siblings, 4 actually, it was 3 what I knew. And I actually got them to send them to the grandparents who lived on this little island kind of thing. And they were going to school, and I went over there and saw them one time, and all their skin healthy. They had really bad skin, some of them, and really malnourished, and all that. Looking really healthy. Yeah. With them, there was a massive typhoon, which always happens in the Philippines. And there was a massive contact break. And still to this day, I do not know. Yeah. Like, I tried to get in contact with them, but it hasn't been really successful. And the only way I reckon is that I need to go over there and check it myself, because waiting for other people is not happening. So if I could go back over there, but as I keep going backwards, I'm thinking that maybe I just go over there and just go and see the kids and all that. but I mean, it might be stepping on people's feet. Or, you know, I'll just leave that for now and go over to Africa and you know, I had this idea of maybe going around the world and opening up boxing gyms, you know, in bad areas. And you know, I've got such a background from martial arts and boxing. I feel like I've got a great community behind that, and a lot of people can help out with it. You know? So that's one of my ideas I was thinking to do. But, yeah, what's in Bali? So.
How did you end up in Bali?
So when COVID broke out, it got to a point where they were moving all the foreigners out, like myself, out of the Philippines. And I thought to myself that this thing is only going to last for a month, 2 months. So I thought, there's no way I'm going back home to England. So I went to Thailand. So I know Thailand. I thought I'll be there for 2 months. And it's next door. I'll go straight back. There's some money as well, you know. So I went there, and then COVID went on for longer than I thought. So I ended up staying in Thailand. Crazy stories in that. I won't go too much, but
Tell us the story.
I got locked up in prison over there. That's a crazy thing. I got locked up in prison on that one through COVID because they done the where you got to be in at a certain time, curfew time. And I didn't know I was on the island. Everybody's kind of left the island, you know. And I came out at 10 o'clock and cut long story short, fucking get arrested and end up in prison for about 6 days. That was interesting. But then money started to run out, and then I was thinking, shit, I need to make money. And then one of my friends reached out to me and said that, there's a new Thai gym in Bangkok. And the woman who runs it is a friend of mine. And it's like a bit of a charity thing as well. So I was like, yeah, sweet. We got to do some charity work. So when I went there,
you can tell how passionate you are just about the charity work, man.
Yeah, you know what? It's, I think, and I was talking about it today with someone. Might be wrong, but you know, everyone's got their own views. But it's like in life, like you need to have a purpose in life. Like you need, you know, some sort of drive. You need a goal. You know? And today, like men, just going off track a little bit, is that men we kind of lost our way. Is that there was a need for a man before. You know, he's got to be the protector of the family. He's the breadwinner. He's got to go out there. It's like now, it's like men are not needed anymore. So we kind of lose our way. And I was saying that, you know, at least for a man, like, if we have some sort of purpose, it gives us a drive. You know? We don't have that. Is that with the charity thing? Now I wake up in the morning, man. I was living that rubbish dump site. I was the most happiest man alive. So yeah, so when he said to me about the charity thing in Bangkok, I thought, yeah, I'll go down there. I ended up helping out one of the classes, and then afterwards there was a boxing class that started. And I thought, oh, I watched this, and there was a sparring game. And everyone sparred, and there was this guy called Rocky. He was in the ring, and no one ever sparred with him. And I was sitting there, I was like, I'll do some sparring with him. And Paul, who actually runs the gym, it's called the boxing gym in Thailand. He always says when he talks about stories, he says, when I saw Simon and he'd done that, he thought, this guy is either really fucking stupid or he's got to be a good fighter.
Yeah.
When I went in there, he's like,
they have no idea.
They have no idea who I was. And I'm good at what I fucking do. And I ain't done this for years. And he's like, when I went in there, he was like a really heavy hitter. And I'm good on speed and reflexes. So like, I was just making miss. And I wasn't hitting him hard, I was making this touch. And when I fight, I smile. I enjoy what I do. I love it. And I think because my background was like the showing off thing, so it's just an automatic thing. When I fight, I smile. There you go. Yeah. I'm doing that. And then at the end, everyone was like, "Whoa, man, who's this guy?" So I said to Paul, like, "Look, man, I'm stuck in Thailand. Like, maybe I can just like help out, man." And then I ended up getting a job. Ended up paying me through. I ended up staying in Thailand for 2 years. And then there's a guy I was teaching, Tim, and I was doing private school, and I can tell you this guy made a lot of money, he was successful. And we made a good little bond. And he was leaving, and he said, take my number, and you never know what's going to happen. And I went back home to England because my 40th birthday was coming up. I ain't seen my family for years, so I thought I'd go and see them. Then I got a message, he goes, what are you doing on July the 4th? I was like, nothing. He goes, come to Bali, I'm doing a business seminar, so this is where I got my speech problem. Business seminar?
Yeah, seminar.
Seminar. I can never pronounce that word. he says, yeah, like come along, that I want to teach you this thing. I've got about 50 to 100 people come in. Got my team there. I'll show you this thing. I'll help you out make some money. I was like, yeah, man, this is going to be my new thing. I'm trying to find a new business. I thought online marketing, this is going to be my thing. So I went there, and when I got there, he was talking. He goes, would you want to get up and do a talk on stage? And this has always been one of my goals as well, like my bucket list. And I was like, yeah, man, I could do that, But then he put me on the last day of speaking with other speakers, and through this whole thing, other people are speaking. These guys, some of them from like Wall Street and all these top fucking things.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, when it got to the night before mine, I said, this guy, man, he made a mistake. So I messaged him, I said, look, man, you made a mistake, man. I don't think it's a good idea when we get up and speak. He goes, why? He goes, because these guys are like the middle class, upper class, rich people. He goes, yeah, man, but it's good to hear from like a fighter's that fighter success is different. Success in fighting, I think it's great. And I was like, you know what? That my real success really comes from the streets as well. He goes, this is it, man. Talk about the street stuff. They'll love this. I thought, what the fuck? This guy's not hearing me, is he? I said, these are middle class, upper class white people that I'm talking about fucking drugs and this and that. And there's lots of stories I haven't told on this. And he's like, he wanted me to tell these stories because he's heard some of the story. I'm thinking fucking hell. And I had about an hour to put a presentation together. And you have a big screen behind you, you've got the clicker.
Yeah.
So he said to me, look, you get a couple of pictures, so you don't get lost. So now I've really thought of like stuff that I'll say today, chapters in my life, to keep me on track. And I've done it. I ended up speaking for like over an hour, and this guy was right.
People love authenticity, bro.
They loved it. People were talking about my talk more than everyone else's talk. And there's another guy, amazing guy called Dave. He does speaking around the world. And he was speaking after me, and he said to me at the end, he goes, I was talking to you before you went up, and you were like nervous. He said, man, you killed it. He said, what did I supposed to say after you just done that presentation? And even him, he offered me to go out to Australia. He's like, I'll teach you up, and blah, blah, blah. Like, guest house.
Start doing something.
He does these other climate jobs. And funny enough, I was talking to someone yesterday, he's actually coming over here in a few days. They're doing another little business thing over here. So I might actually try to touch base with him just to see what happens,
Yeah, that's crazy, yeah.
So that was happening in Bali. And, I can't remember who quoted it. I'm sure people know it, but pick up on it. They come by ship to this new island, this new country, and the captain burned his ships. So there's no going back. We're fucking going forward. And, that's what I was doing with Bali. When I was in England, I was going to Bali. I did 1 minute I was going to go for this business thing, and it's going to last for like 10 days. What am I going to do after that? I did not know. I just went to that. This got to lead on to something. Something's going to happen from this. And even that thing, people don't see behind the scenes. Because this whole COVID stuff, my ticket got cancelled. Yeah, I lost the money basically. So I paid for a ticket already. All that money gone. And I already ain't much money. One of my friends gave me £1,000. He goes, look, bro, make something fucking happen here. And then, I went out there with that £1,000 and went to that business thing. And at the end of that, led into another thing that I'm surviving now in Bali. Yeah. Which I can't say too much of you. I'm surviving. That's kind of how I met you. I'm surviving. And I've just really been sitting and thinking hard of what is my next chapter? What's my next thing? I'm waiting for like the boat or the bus to come and get me on my next journey.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to have something to do with some charity work. I think that's a great idea, and I think you should definitely pursue that because I can see how passionate you are with it. And it's obviously like it makes you happy, and that keeps you, like you said, you need to have purpose, bro. And that seems like that's the thing that's going to give you the most purpose in life.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really look at it before, but my friend keeps saying about legacy. And, it's maybe like a legacy, but I think there is two sides of me. That I'm still like an entrepreneur. I love trying to come up with ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, we could definitely do both.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like the charity thing, I love doing that. That's like thing I love doing. I ain't really care about the money with that, but at the same time, I need to make sure that my future I'm financially safe. So if I can try to run some online or something sort of business, at the same time, I'm kind of doing charity work. So maybe if I go to Africa for 3 months, I help build a gym and help teach there for 3 months. And then maybe I'll go travel myself and my own life. So maybe do 2-3 months of my own leisures. And even when I'm doing that, I'm always helping people on my journey. Yeah. And then find another thing that somewhere else involved and do 3-4 months of building something where maybe there's a school, a medical centre, a livelihood, whatever it is. That's where I'm right now. Is that when I'm trying to find a new way of making money. I won't say easy money because nothing's ever easy, but I don't have to work my arse off so much. And yes, I'm doing charity work, and I think that's me. And maybe might find a companionship. I think that's what I've been single for that 5 years. 2017, yeah. Single. Yeah, companionship as well. I think that's it really.
Yeah. What if you had like one thing to say to the people back home in England, like maybe like a tip or just like something that you could say, what do you reckon that would be? Like obviously you're going to speak to them, like obviously much, but like just from you having all the experiences that you've done, being one of those people, like what would be the best bit of advice that you could give to someone back home?
I'll put into a story mode. So I was saying before that life is like a book of chapters, and I think life, when you talk about money's not everything. And I think experiences. So if you look at what we just been speaking about, look at the amount of experiences I've had. Yeah. So I'm 40 now. If I was in my deathbed right now, I'm dying, I'll look back at my life and think, people I've met, things I've seen, things I've done, the achievements. Wow, that's amazing. Where other people is like, you go to work, school, get married, anything's possible with it. I'll say that. Don't aim for money, financial. We live in a money times world, but look for experiences. Life is about experiences. When you're down in that deathbed, you're not going to think about the shoes that you bought, the gold chain, the new phone, the car, the fancy house. That shit's all material. Yeah. You're going to be thinking about the things you've done, the people you saw, the achievements, and all that stuff. That's what's going to count at the end of life. And step out your comfort zone. Is that anything great, comes with fear. That if there's a door, and on the other side of the door, it's got all your dreams that you want. But in front of that door, it's a fucking big, bad, ugly guy, scary guy. That's fear. And you got to get everything that you want is always on the other side of fear. So on the other side of that door is what you want, but in front of it is fear. And nothing is easy. Like you might look at my life, you might look at these other people's life, but you don't know what's going through the background. But it's like great things do. You are going to have faults. A lot of people are scared of failing. So it's like success, or should I say failing, is a part of success. No one does succeed without failure. Like you don't see how many times they fail. You look at Thomas Edison. I think he failed 10,000 times before he made the light bulb. Yeah. Like so many people fail, but you only see on top of the iceberg that you see that post on Instagram. You got the iceberg on the top of the success, but you don't see all the bullshit that it takes to get past that. So that if you have a dream, follow your dream. If you fall, get back up, man, and just keep going. It's like I've hit rock bottom so many times, and I would never give up. And it's like with the martial arts. When I went to fight, I thought I was going to win my first fight. I lost 7 times in a row, and most people would have gave up. And I had this dream that I was going to be world champion, and I'm carrying a train. 6 years later, I become world champion. But most people would have given up, and I carry that through my life all the time with that. When things go bad, when things go wrong, there's something that you can learn from it. That a loss is, is either a win or there's a lesson. There's never a loss. Yeah. So only when you give up, that's a loss. So,
and that's like Cool. And then one last thing, just because I think it's like a fucking cool story and you should tell, just like you could explain how you got your necklace and what it means to you.
So when I was in the, there you see it. It's really fucking cool. I love this shit. I actually just got it back. I've been away from it for a whole year because I left it in Thailand before I went traveling. So when I was in the helping out with the kids in Thailand to get the equipment and that. So my martial arts one of my martial arts teachers, before he died of cancer, he gave it to his wife to give to me. Before him, there was another master had it, and before him, there was another master had it. And from the only story I know is before that, it was in like one of the Buddhist temples where it gets left for like 3, 4, 5 years in the pre-training. So they say it has energy. So I had this first. And then when I done that thing with the kids in Thailand, helping them with the gym, the parents gave me these. And I didn't know how precious they are because these get passed down from family members. So like 2 of these are really, really old. 3 of them are really, really old. The other ones I'm not too sure about. So that held to my heart. And then there's a thing of law of attraction. I'm a massive believer in law of attraction. I'm surprised I didn't even speak about that today, but massive believer in law of attraction. And there's a thing where, I don't know if it's from The Secret or from one other thing I might be reading up on, where this guy has a lucky stone. And he used to have this stone in his pocket. And it's like, when he goes home, he takes his stuff out. And he always reminds him that, gratitude. And I think that's the missing, one of the biggest energies. Yes, it's love, but it's gratitude. You've got to be grateful for what you got already. If you're not grateful for what you got already, then how can you have more? Like, if there's a God up in the world, and you are grateful for what you got. It's like, mate, you got a roof over your head, you got water, you got a fridge, you got food, man, you're better than 80% of the fucking world, people. So, God's like, man, if you're not grateful for this, why should I give you more? So, I always used to forget because I'm always up late and every time I wake up, I'm really in a rush. So I forget to do my gratitudes. So when they gave me this, every time I go to bed, I'll take it off. And I always do this. If I'm in a rush, I'll say health, wealth, and happiness. In the mornings, let's say tonight, I go to bed, and I'll sit back, think about all the good things. So I met up with my friend today, we had breakfast, I come here with you, we've done this, so thank you for this, thank you for that. So I'm grateful. And then I'm also grateful, I start saying stuff that I want in life. And what I haven't got, I say it like I've already got it. So I'm like, you know what, thank you for helping me run this charity, get it properly. Thank you for setting me up with my money, financing properly. Thank you for keeping my family healthy, this and that. And I was a good magic person with law of attraction. And when I started doing this one, man, it went from there to there. It was ridiculous. If I say something, man, I pulled out the biggest miracles you could ever imagine. Happen. Like with the charity stuff. Yeah. You write down on the notes, the app, the notes, and I wrote down on Christmas Day, I want to help out a charity, and get recognition, I want to help out the kids, I want to open up the gym, blah, 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 and it puts the date on it, so you can't lie. Yeah. Halfway through the charity thing, I would go through my old notes, because I've got all my ideas and inventions and stuff like that. I saw it, fuck. I said this to 86, I brought this into life. And I done it on Christmas Day, about 3-4 months before I actually was doing it. So, yeah. That's crazy. So, yeah, this is how I got this chain. I've just got it back. I just went back to Thailand, so I just got it back. I've got to start getting back into the routine of doing my gratitudes and stuff like that. Yeah. So
pretty much just when you put it on, it reminds you.
Yeah, so when I go to bed, it's so heavy, I take it off. So as soon as I take it off, it's a reminder. Yeah. So I'll say all the thinking stuff will happen today. When I wake up in the morning, I've got to put it on. So when I put it on, it's like, oh yeah. I'll say all the stuff I'm happy for and the stuff that I want, but I don't say it like I want it. I say it like I've already got it. Yeah. And then put it up. Yeah. It's I don't know, man. It has some little tools. It's like, when I might go for a business networking thing, I always have it out. So people would go, what's that? Conversation starter, and it's got this story behind it, and it's kind of like, it's a tool that helps me.
I really like that, bro. Yeah. Thanks, I appreciate you doing this with me, man.
Thank you, bro, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much.